Hello, everyone, and welcome to FormFest 2024. I'm Kirsten Wyatt, the Senior Director for the Digital Service Network at the Beeck Center for Social Impact and Innovation at Georgetown University.
And I'm Marlena Medford, Senior Director of Strategic Communications at Code for America. And we are your MCs today. And we are so excited that you've joined us for our second annual celebration of all things government forms.
Yes, this event is back by popular demand, which is kind of hilarious to us because of the humble origins of FormFest. It all results from a harebrained idea we had a couple of years ago.
That's right. Yep. A lot of people don't know this, but Kirsten and I have been friends for about 13 years now, give or take. It actually started back when we both worked in local government. So shout out to anyone out there today who is representing local government.
We love local government. It's such an incredible space where you can see your work in public service having a real and tangible impact on people's lives in your community.
But let's be honest, local government has plenty of form challenges.
So last year we were on a call and we got onto the topic of all of the frustrations that can come from a badly designed form. And we just had so much to say that we wondered, do you think people would actually come to an event that was centered on government forms?
And for the second year in a row, we have our answer. We've had more than 2,000 people register for FormFest from not just local government, but every level of government across the nation and around the world. In fact, at last count, we had 30 nations on our attendee list for today.
So welcome to FormFest to everyone around the world. Also backed by popular demand, we will be crowdsourcing a form-inspired reading list. So throughout the day, please drop any great reads about how to improve form design into the chat. We'll assemble and share this list on the Digital Government Hub. And if you haven't done so, please read our code of conduct, which we're going to drop into the chat right now.
All right, now it is time for our first formidable form panel. And yes, alliteration is one of my favorite things about this event. So to kick things off, we are going to hear a great discussion from Pennsylvania about how they are raising the bar on forms, including their Forms That Suck Less internship, which might just be the greatest name ever for an internship in government. So with that, please take it away, Arlene.
Amazing. Thank you, Marlena. And hi, everyone. I am Arlene Corbin-Lewis. I'm the Chief Communications and Marketing Officer at Code for America, and I am also your moderator for this opening panel at FormFest. I could not be more excited to be here and talk to the First Lady of Pennsylvania, Lori Shapiro, and CodePA's team, who are inspiring all of us to make government forms easier, more intuitive, and dare I say, maybe even enjoyable to use. So with that, we're going to dive into the groundbreaking Forms That Suck Less initiative and learn how they're transforming complex, frustrating forms into smooth, user-friendly experiences for Pennsylvanians. I can't wait to get started and hear from our incredible panelists about how they're making this happen. So to start, I'd love to hear from each of you about, how the Forms That Suck Less program is making an impact in your specific roles. And we're going to start with the First Lady. First Lady Shapiro, you've been a champion for making government more accessible for Pennsylvanians. So my first question is, can you talk a little bit about how the Forms That Suck Less program is important to Pennsylvanians?
Hi, it's so nice to be here today. I'm really, really excited because there's nothing people love more than forms that suck less. So the fact that there is a whole day devoted to this topic is really, really amazing. Josh and I believe that government can be a force for good in people's lives, and we have to do the work to make sure that everyone has access to the important services that government provides. And in order to do that, we have to make sure that online services can be accessible and easy to use for everyone. And really making forms that suck less is a really important part of this work. And so it is really crucial to all kinds of ways that people sort of engage with the Commonwealth. It all starts with online digital services and most often with forms. And so this work is super, super important.
Fantastic. So I heard that you host listening sessions at the governor's residence as part of the partnership with CodePA. And so I'm actually really curious to hear a little bit about what happens at these sessions and how they're helping to improve government services.
Sure. Well, thank you for that question. We actually get together. It's sort of a user experience workshop kind of thing, but we bring together people from across the Commonwealth who really are the users of the Commonwealth's online services. And we bring them here and we really want to listen to them about what the obstacles are, what the challenges are, and how we can provide them forms and online services that work better for them and their specific needs. So just as an example, we had grant seekers come in. We had a whole group of them come and we listened to them. And I think the amazing thing is the Code PA team does such an awesome job listening to the experiences of the actual end users of these products and really taking that information, which feels really just overwhelming, right? To get all this feedback and to be able to take it and put it together in a way and then bring a product to the users that is better is really awesome. I'm telling you, we had the grant seekers were so excited to share their feelings and they felt really, really heard. And then when we came back to them and showed them a website and forms that they could use to access the information they need that really worked, they were blown away. They were so excited, and we really appreciate their time. These are all really busy people with lots to do and lots of obligations, and the fact that they were willing to come give us their time and really sit with us and give us really thoughtful, constructive feedback was amazing. We had another session with visually impaired people, making sure that our forms are accessible. And that was really enlightening for all of us. And again, they gave us so much of their valuable time and really important feedback that you really can't get just from sitting at your desk. You really do need to talk and interact with the people who are the end users of these products. And it was amazing. And they gave us such important feedback that, again, the Code PA team was able to sort of get their arms around and really, really have an impact.
Amazing. That sounds like an incredible experience, and it's something that I'm sure people are, eager to participate in. So thank you for doing that. So Anja, I'm going to turn things over to you. I know you've been a key part of this initiative as an intern with Code PA. And so I'd love to hear how you heard about the program and what inspired you to apply.
Yeah, so I came across the internship through a LinkedIn post, and what inspired me to apply was the call to action to make forms suck less. I immediately resonated with the mission, especially with my background growing up as a child of immigrant parents. Like many children of immigrant parents, I had a lot of experience growing up helping my parents fill out forms. And so I saw the impact of forms in terms of communicating needs to the government and getting those essential services and benefits, but also how they could serve as barriers from getting those services and needs. So that really shaped my desire to design experiences that empower communities rather than disempower. So when I saw the opportunity to work with Code PA, I jumped at it, especially because I spent most of my life in Pennsylvania. So it was really cool to do work that would impact my community.
Amazing. Given that life experience, I have to imagine that this has been really meaningful to you in terms of the experience of participating in this internship. What have you learned from the program so far, and how has participating impacted your college experience?
Yeah, so I had learned one of my biggest takeaways is that forms need to suck less for everyone, not just for users, but also for those who work in government. This past summer, I had the opportunity to work on environmental complaint forms and talking with the agency at the DEP and different stakeholders. I saw how it didn't just impact people's ability to share issues of environmental issues, but also the administrative burden it had on employees from being able to serve their community. So I think it's important to improve forms for everybody, users and employees alike. And it also humanized the government for me, very much in the sense of, I think growing up, I saw government as an abstract idea or a system, but being able to work with such a great team like Code PA, I saw just how many humans work so hard every day just to keep things running, just to make a change and make a difference. And it really solidified my interest in civic tech. And I really want to contribute to the movement and make a difference.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing that perspective. That's really appreciated. Over to you, Bree. You're the executive director of Code PA, and you oversee the mission of the Forms That Suck Less program. How has the Forms That Suck Less internship, how does it fit into the broader mission of Code PA?
Yeah, I'm so happy to be here, and I still can't believe that I get the opportunity to lead Code PA every day. Our mission is to put customers first and make experiences simple, seamless, and secure. And we have been empowered to make a difference and lead the charge in partnership with our agencies, with IT, with all of the partners in government to make that transformation. And Forms That Suck Less has such an interesting trajectory. It is, I would be remiss if I did not shout out our head of UX design, Stephen Gillardi, and Annalise Smith, one of our UX designers who really thought of this as something that needed to happen and wanted to bring in young talent to fill our pipeline with incredible dreamers that can make a difference for residents of Pennsylvania. And so we were able to put user experience research at the forefront of what we were doing, put some real beautiful rigor around evaluating these forms and not just taking something on paper or the existing structure and turning it into something digital, but really reimagining it to improve the experience. But then building things in a way that it can be repeatable so that it's not just Code PA that can make these transformations in the Commonwealth. We've got an extraordinary mountain of forms, both paper and digital, that need to transform. And so by building out repeatable processes using a forms design system and our Keystone design system, standardizing technology that people can use, and then imagining how we can build a foundation that everyone has access to is such a priority for us. So this feels like the beginning of a really fantastic forms transformation movement in the Commonwealth.
Awesome. Yeah. Shout out to the entire Code PA team. Fantastic work. I have to talk a little bit about what's next. Where do you see the Forms That Suck Less internship going from here?
So we started small, and I've been told many times that I am not afraid of a big swing. And so our hope is that we can move forward to have cross-functional teams of interns that can come to the table and help us reimagine forms. So I think part of the complexity and the challenge behind form transformation is that it's not just taking paper and making it digital. There needs to be research, there needs to be design, we need developers, we need accessibility testing to make sure that it fits into that program, and we need to execute, monitor, and maintain those things. And so by not only scaling out our internship program to really be able to support more folks coming in the door, and again, fill that talent pipeline with all of these incredible students who just have so much energy and enthusiasm about improving civic tech, but really building out those core foundations so that everyone can be a part of the Forms That Suck Less movement in the Commonwealth, not just Code PA, but folks across the board that just want the toolkit to be able to run. So I think we're setting that foundation, and 2025 is going to be another really big year for Code PA and the team. We're just excited to get started.
So exciting. Yeah, definitely excited to hear all about this and looking forward to seeing what happens next in 2025 for this incredible program. We're at the end, incredibly. I can't imagine how fast the time has gone, but thank you all for sharing your insights and your experiences. I can think we can all agree that, Pennsylvania's Forms That Suck Less initiative is showing that even small, thoughtful changes can make a big impact on how people interact with government. So really appreciate you all sharing your insights and thoughts today. To our audience, I hope you are inspired to think about how small changes in design and accessibility can make a difference in your own communities. And thank you again. We look forward to seeing where Code PA takes this important work next. And now with that, it's my honor to welcome to the stage Amanda Renteria, CEO of Code for America, and Lynn Overman, Executive Director of the Beeck Center for Social Impact and Innovation. Over to you.
Thank you so much, First Lady Shapiro, Bree, Anja, and Arlene. Learning about the Forms That Suck Less internship was really kind of the perfect way to kick off our session for FormFest 2024.
And it's great to see everyone. Great to be back to one of our favorite events of the year. Plus, to be honest, I just love doing things with you, Lynn.
I have to say, Amanda, I feel the same. And I will say, I was telling the team earlier, this is my favorite time of the year because it's my 3 favorite events: Thanksgiving, Christmas, and FormFest. And I will say I am very thankful for all of the work that we have been able to do with the Code for America team all throughout this year. Wrapping it up with FormFest is kind of the ideal way to end things, and I can't wait to see what we can do together in 2025. But this year, I know, Amanda, you and I last year, we kicked off our first FormFest by talking about the importance of forms. And given the number of registrants today, I'm pretty sure people are bought in on that theory. So instead of explaining why we think forms are important, we thought we'd go in another direction. And we're going to kick us off by talking about what we're calling form flubs. These are real government forms. Names have been changed to protect the innocent that are not exactly hitting the mark.
That's right. If you're tuning in and you're worried, don't be. We've redacted everything. And of course, none of this is to call anyone out. It really is to share, how can we do this better, give some context when forms go wrong, and really point out why it is so important that we are making these forms more user-friendly and accessible, because it really is building that relationship with people and government. And I know if you are here with us today, you're part of the revolution of figuring out how do we actually change these forms to make sure they're user-friendly, that they're human-centered.
Great. So we thought we'd share a few of our very favorite form flubs that demonstrate some of the challenges, actually some of which were just discussed in our opening session. So first, we're going to start with the online form that needs to be printed. This is a special use permit for a state park. And unfortunately, forms like these are probably the most ubiquitous. I'm sure we've all encountered them more often than we'd like. And they always seem to pop up at the most inconvenient time. So this online form is really just an old school paper form that was converted to a PDF and thrown up online. The ones that require you to print it out in order to fill it in. I don't know about the rest of you, but my handwriting is not ideal. And whenever I have to fill these things out, I am very concerned that the people on the other end are not going to actually be able to read what I've written. This one doesn't even, it's not even fillable. So we can't solve my handwriting problem by filling out the forms and then printing it. You're really stuck with the kind of pen, paper, old school approach. I don't know about you. I know very few people these days who actually have a printer in their home. I don't, and certainly all of our students that work with us at the Beeck Center here at Georgetown University are always talking about how difficult it is for them to print things. So forms like these are automatically inaccessible for a whole generation of users. And I don't know about the rest of you, but my mother-in-law absolutely could not use a printer. I love her very much. Tech is not her strong point. To make matters worse, once you've physically printed and filled out this form, you have to send it in by snail mail with a $10 fee payable only by check. And without a digital notification option, who knows how long it will take to find out if your reservation is successful. I do not know about you, Amanda, but I'm the vacation planner in my family, and I just probably would not go with this park if I had to wait that long to go through this much to sign up to use it. So forms like these aren't just annoying and inconvenient, although they are certainly that. They're also outdated and inaccessible. And now with the recent Department of Justice's accessibility ruling for state and local governments, they're not just bad practice, they're also non-compliant. So it's time to move away from those static PDFs, and there's no better place to start than PDF forms, which is why I'm super excited for our session featuring Arizona and Massachusetts, who will be talking about how they've scaled form improvements and upgrades across state government. Their work is proof that you don't need to hire form experts. It was really great to hear from Bree about all of the research that they put into their form design. But really what Arizona and Massachusetts are going to demonstrate is that you can find ways to train, upskill, and share form advancements so the work that was done in one agency can scale across the entire organization. So be sure to attend that session if you think you've made some progress on forms in your department and are wondering about how to spread that knowledge and progress across your organization.
All right, so now we have form flub number 2, the form to nowhere. This is a travel and expense reimbursement form for employees of a city. And we chose this example because when we think of forms, it's not just important that we're thinking about forms that connect people to government services, but it's also important for internal operations within government. And if any of you who have not worked in government, when you do, you have to get used to filling out a lot of forms. And in fact, when I worked for local government, I thought long and hard about whether or not the reimbursement was really worth it because of how long it takes to fill out the form. Now, when you look at this form, on the one hand, it is at least a fillable PDF, which wasn't an option back in 2003 when I worked for the city. I had to print out the form and fill it out by hand. So I just want to say, like, we are making progress. And you can see from this form as well, it actually automatically calculates for you. So we've got some automation in there too. I'm a little jealous because I didn't have that in 2003. But here's the thing, like, where does this data actually go? And that's where it's the form to nowhere. You finish filling out the form, you submit it, and then somebody else, probably in your finance or budget department, which is where I worked, has to manually enter all of the expenses into another system in order to get you to get reimbursed. So if you want to dig into more of this today, I'd encourage you to go to the session that's being hosted by the German Digital Service, where they're going to look beyond the user interface of a form and dig into how forms actually get processed.
Awesome. All right, form flub number 3 is what we're calling the existential crisis form, because that's what it caused in me when I read it. So we have an application for a mobile home placement permit from a county government. Once again, we've got a non-fillable PDF that requires printing and handwriting your responses. We already know how we feel about that. But as you work your way through this form, first of all, just from a straight up design perspective, there's this giant do not write in the space box that's taking up a quarter of the page. And while the form design issues aside has relatively few data fields, so you may look at this and think, okay, this is not going to be that hard. There is a long, downright unwieldy list of other documentation that the applicant must provide. This is really important, not just for the applicant, but for the government, because the information that's being asked for in this form impacts land use, environmental planning, stormwater, and sewers, and more. So when you get to page 2 of this form, which you again thought, hey, this doesn't look so bad, you'll see a list of 9 different pieces of documentation that you need to provide, and that is just to sign up for an inspection. And oh, by the way, if you're reading the fine print on this form, what you will see is you have to meet 6 other requirements at the time of the inspection. And by the way, there is no time that will be guaranteed for that inspection to occur. So good luck planning when you're supposed to be meeting your inspector.
I'm already tired, Lynn.
But imagine the confusion on the part of the person who's trying to get this placement approved. Imagine all the information that was provided to the county in the form of the attached documents. Is that captured anywhere? Is there, are folks like having to fill all of that data in on the back end? Is it not getting captured at all? And how is that going to impact all of these other environmental and critical questions for the local government? And then, of course, hidden in all of this is the mandatory signature line all the way at the bottom of this form. And I'm sure lots of applicants don't even make it this far in their scroll and unintentionally mail in their forms incomplete. But our keynote session later today with the city of Portland, Oregon, tackles this challenge head on. They'll talk to us about using one form to triage information to multiple departments that use the data for service delivery. And I have to say, this is kind of the holy grail of forms. Not a lot of folks have been able to achieve this, but it really is that enter data once, share it on the back end that makes it so much easier for the end users and for the government partners who are then not having to replicate and ask over and over again for the same data. So, I do want to say, I think we can achieve maybe the goal for our FormFest this year is not just forms that suck less, but perhaps forms that don't suck at all.
There you go. Or that make your life easier. I just get excited about the potential here. All right, so our final form flub, the doom scroll. And, Lynn, you've been talking a lot about paper PDF, and I can tell how much it bothers you. So we're going to now go into the digital world. And these are the screen grabs from our research at Code for America, where we looked across safety net benefits enrollment processes across the 50 states. And first of all, I just want to say, I'm super encouraged to see online enrollment forms anytime. So important progress. But we noticed that there was a trend when we were looking across the landscape, which is that a lot of these digital applications were not designed in a way that was mobile first or mobile responsive. So it's great to have a form online, but if it really doesn't work online, it only works on a desktop and a laptop and not your mobile phone, we've got a problem. In 2021, 85% of Americans owned a smartphone, and I'm sure it's higher now, while only 77% own a desktop or a laptop. So we've really got to be thinking about being mobile first. And it's even more important when you look in low-income communities, because some folks, their only access is their mobile phone. So if an online form isn't properly formatted to the size, the dimensions of a mobile screen, we've all had to do this before. It's a pretty terrible user experience, and you end up super scrolling or zooming on your mobile phone, or helping your parents try and figure out how to zoom on the mobile phone. But listen, I want to close out with one of my favorite finds. So again, really excited that it's online, but this one, when it asks for your social security number and then uses a drop-down menu for each individual digit. It's a lot of time. It's a good way to remind yourself of what your social security number is. But listen, I think we can do a lot better than that. That's right. All right. And if you want to tackle this fun exercise, I'd encourage you to go to the Wisconsin Department of Public Instruction's presentation on how to embed thinking about accessibility into all of our daily work processes. So none of these things should worry you. We have answers for it all. And I think that was what was so exciting when Lynn and I were talking about and looking through these forms, where we looked at them and we said, God, this is not so great. And here is the answer, not only to make it not suck less, but how to make it better. And that's what's really exciting. I want to like close this out and say, I know we've been making fun of this stuff, but the truth is we are really excited that you're here with us today, because all of you are on the front lines of making this better. And we've made a lot of progress since the pandemic. When Code for America first did this research in 2019, only about 43% of online benefit applications were mobile responsive. This year, we resurveyed the landscape and found that that number had risen to 69%. We went from 43% to 69%. Now, I know we've got a long way to go, but as much as it's important to point out where we can do better, it's also important to point out how we've made progress and to celebrate that too. And so I know a lot of you are attending this event today to learn, to get inspired, to continue this work, but I also just want to say thank you. Because those numbers don't change without people dedicating themselves to making that change, being here today with us, joining in the fun and the joy and the celebration of progress. So I just want to thank you for committing the time and for being part of making these improvements in people's lives.
Fantastic. I could not agree more, Amanda, which is, again, why I love this event so much. And we are super excited to transition now to our rock star next host. And I will say more good news is that every challenge we've identified with these form flubs, as you mentioned, is covered in our programming today. And so you'll be hearing from folks just like you in agencies and organizations, both across the country and across the world, that are tackling digital delivery head on. So I don't know if it makes me feel better. There's that old saying, misery loves company. This is not a problem that it's just a US government issue. This is something that really is a worldwide movement, recognizing how often people really engage with government using forms.
And today it's going to be a day filled of information, experiences, tools, getting to know other people's problems and how they have actually fixed it in government. And really the idea is we want to do everything we can to help you make your work easier to do, and knowing that when you do that, you're also helping other people's lives better too. So speaking of making other people's lives better, it is a huge honor to introduce someone who knows a tremendous amount of working to improve people's lives over the course of his career. So I want to welcome to FormFest Governor Wes Moore. Also, Governor, I'm actually in your state looking at Fells Point right now and just excited about all the work you're doing out here.
Yes, and we all know that Governor Moore has a particular soft spot for Baltimore in his heart. So I am so glad that you were there, although I do miss you here, Amanda. Governor Moore has been a tireless advocate for the power of technology in making equitable, accessible benefits and services a reality for all Marylanders. The efforts and successes of his administration are proof positive that when we collaborate, innovate, and design with people in mind, we can make a real difference in the way people experience government. So please take it away, Governor Moore.
Hey everyone, it's Maryland's Governor Wes Moore, and I'm grateful to my friends at Code for America and the Beeck Center for Social Impact and Innovation for the opportunity to be part of FormFest. Now, fundamentally, this event is about the importance of harnessing the power of technology to better serve all of the people. So here in Maryland, we know that power well. From my administration's Council on Innovation and Impact to our state's new IT investment fund and so much in between. We're taking steps to move the state forward, and not just for the next year or even the next decade, but for generations to come. And what I love about FormFest is that we can all relate to it. Virtually all of our government interactions start with a form. Forms are about more than just typing words into a box. A focus on forms is a focus on people, on families, and on the well-being of all of those that we seek to serve. It's about grandparents and aunts and uncles who may have an easier time caring for kids because of the changes we're making in our kinship caregiver assessment form. It's about the Marylanders who can put food on the table and keep a roof over their heads because of the changes that we've made to our state's public benefits application. These are examples of just a few of the projects people can learn more about during today's breakout sessions. Small changes to government forms can yield big changes in people's lives. And I've seen firsthand how better forms have led to a stronger Maryland and a better country for all of us. Now, without further ado, I am thrilled to hand things off to one of Maryland's smartest and most committed public servants, Department of Information Technology Secretary, Katie Savage. Katie, you're amazing, and thank you for all you're doing in joining FormFest to share more about the work that's happening in the great state of Maryland and the amazing work that you're leading to make it happen.
Thank you, Governor Moore, for the introduction. I'm Katie Savage, Secretary of IT for the state of Maryland. Since joining the state under Governor Moore's leadership in January of 2023, I have been on a mission to introduce human-centered design and digital experience to Maryland. One of the first initiatives my agency, the Department of Information Technology, pushed through was an accessibility directive, followed by an executive order on plain language. Both requirements are meant to ensure that vendors and state agencies alike make state services available and accessible to those regardless of ability and stay clear of jargon or confusing web hierarchies. Prior to joining the state of Maryland, I served as the director of the Defense Digital Service in the Office of the Secretary of Defense. Over time, when my team was asked to create something for information gathering, we learned to simplify, simplify, simplify. We challenged ourselves to ask if the stakeholder really needed an application, as they often claimed, or if this was a communication we could solve with a really good form. When we were asked to look at forms as a starting point, we also focused on design on both ends, the government side and the customer side. We had some incredible opportunities to reinvent not just the form, but the process. For example, Lily Madigan, who's on my team again now in Maryland as our head of design, quickly realized when asked to look at the National Background Investigation System forms that applicants didn't always have the information on hand. In some cases, they were literally doing push-ups, in the middle and had been dropped off in the middle of the night at their first duty station. But the federal government that they were going to work for already did. So we tried to flip the paradigm. Amanda was just talking about automation. We tried to flip the paradigm, and instead of making the applicant find their addresses, financials, criminal history, etc., we tried to auto-populate that information into the form so the government worker and the applicant alike would have a much easier task at hand. All they needed to do was verify. In addition to plain language and accessibility, the medium of how we communicate and the legwork that we in government can do in advance that can be accomplished well before the form even gets to them really matters. Today, the state of Maryland is focused on digitizing forms by collaborating with the governor's office to improve things like licensing and permitting across all agencies. We have since learned in doing a survey that there's 1,200 forms that need attention in terms of being digitized and improved to increase efficiency and transparency. Later today, you'll hear from my colleague Sheetal Agrawal about all of the improvements her team is making as part of our benefits work, including improvements being made to things like SNAP applications and appointment scheduling to implement on the eligibility and enrollment application, which will allow for simplified, mobile-friendly appointment scheduling with caseworkers for benefits applications and redeterminations. All of these are efforts that the Moore-Miller administration is getting into to take on the nitty-gritty of government improvement by emphasizing things like forms. Governor Moore changed the state's motto to leave no one behind, but it's more than a motto. It's an ethos that drives our work. Leave no one behind is something that everyone in this audience, including those of you from other states and countries, can relate to. Everyone at today's event is here because you are passionate about improving people's lives and making the government more efficient. The form is a cornerstone of effective or ineffective government service delivery. As the governor said, it's about an interaction. It's about a communication. It takes dedicated government workers to improve them intelligently. Today is about learning from and recognizing the unseen work of government. When everything in government is working as intended, it is often not noticed. I know, as the head of an IT department, no one calls to tell you it's working. So if you feel like your work today is not being seen, today is a day for your work to be seen and for us to recognize your work and for you to get some ideas and some feedback on how to continuously improve things for our constituents. Today, you'll hear from many speakers about how they improve their forms. Take notes, ask questions, and bring those lessons into your work. Your work is very much appreciated, and your constituents are counting on you. I'll turn it back to Marlena and Kirsten at Code for America and the Beeck Center. They will introduce FormFest concurrent sessions. So thank you so much for all the work that you do and enjoy today's event.
Thank you so much, Secretary Savage. And I don't know about you, but I am having a lot of form feelings.
Same.
I was inspired by First Lady Shapiro talking about opening her home to talk about how to make forms better. I laughed at Lynn and Amanda's form flubs.
Yes.
I cried when Governor Moore talked about the very human impact of a well-designed form. And I'm really hopeful by what Secretary Savage just left us with, this idea that we're here to celebrate the work that all of you are doing to make forms better and more impactful in the organizations you serve.
Yeah,
So
feeling fired up about forms for
yes,
sure.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So we are really excited to transition to the next 2 hours of concurrent sessions where you are going to have to decide what you'd like to learn about across 5 different virtual rooms. And just fair warning, it's going to be a hard pick because our content committee pulled together an amazing lineup for you today.
Absolutely. They absolutely knocked it out of the park. And so after you've made those tough decisions, you're going to use the agenda page to navigate to the session that you want to join. Once you're in there, you can use the chat to engage with others, and you can also use that Q&A function to ask and upvote questions for the panelists.
And after each hour of concurrent sessions, we're offering optional virtual networking time where you can make some new form friends. So you can select the instant networking option from the community tab in the attendee hub to check out this new feature to this year's FormFest.
And lastly, we would love to hear your feedback about FormFest. So we do have a short survey that we hope you'll take a minute to fill out. We're going to drop a link to that now so that you can do that if you have a few minutes before sessions kick off. And just a friendly reminder, please keep sharing what you're learning on social media, tag #FormFest 2024 so we can see it. We'd love to amplify it. And last but not least, let's keep the form fun flowing. We very much hope you enjoy the rest of your sessions. Thank you.